Okay, let's jump right in. Kim Kardashian. I mean, everyone knows the name, right?
Hard to avoid it, definitely. Whether you follow celebrity culture or not.
Exactly. But today, we're going deeper than the usual headlines. We're doing a deep dive into, well, the whole journey of Kimberly Noel Kardashian.
Right. Looking beyond just the reality TV star, thinking about her as um, a businesswoman, a cultural influencer, and now someone pursuing law.
Which is fascinating in itself. Now, look, opinions about her are all over the place. We know that.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah. But you really can't deny her impact. It's significant across so many areas.
Undeniable.
So, our mission here is to try and understand the key things that shaped her path from, her early life right up to what she's doing now.
And we're using an interesting source for this, a narrative designed for English language learners.
Yeah, which surprisingly gives a really clear, structured look at her life story. It cuts through some of the noise.
It does. It focuses you on the sort of core arc of her transformation, the big shifts and maybe the strategic moves she made.
Okay, so let's rewind. Back before the constant cameras. Kimberly Noel Kardashian, born in Los Angeles, October 21st, 1980.
And that family background is pretty crucial, isn't it?
Absolutely. Her father, Robert Kardashian, a really well-known lawyer, famous for the O.J. Simpson trial back in 95, that cast a long shadow.
A huge cultural moment. And her mother, Kris Jenner, started as a homemaker and then, well, became the powerhouse manager she is today.
And the siblings, Courtney, Chloe, Rob, and then the half-sisters, Kendall and Kylie, it's a whole dynasty.
Right. And they grew up in Beverly Hills. We're talking wealth, connections, private schools, exposure to the Hollywood scene from day one, really.
That environment must have shaped things, that early exposure to, like, fame and how influence works.
I think so. Even indirectly, you absorb how that world operates. And her father's legal background.
Yeah,
That's a theme we'll definitely come back to.
for sure. Now, before keeping up, Kim wasn't just sitting around. She was working as a stylist.
Yeah, for various celebrities, the source mentions Paris Hilton specifically. That relationship seemed quite key.
It seems like it gave her a front row seat to fame.
Mm-hmm.
How it works, the good and the bad.
Like an apprenticeship in managing public image almost. A skill she definitely mastered later.
And she also worked in her father's company after he passed away in 2003. Maybe getting some early business sense there.
Could be even basic exposure to how a business runs, the practical side of things.
Yeah,
People often forget that pre-reality TV phase.
they do. She was already active, already learning. Seeing how someone like Paris Hilton handled the spotlight must have taught her a lot. What generates buzz?
Absolutely. The mechanics of attention. And maybe the office work gave her some grounding in like organizational stuff,
Hmm.
details.
Then, 2007, the game changer. That leaked private video.
A huge media storm. Just immense.
And here's where it gets interesting. Instead of retreating, which you might expect,
Which would be the normal playbook, right?
yeah,
Damage control, lie low.
yeah, but the family, they decided to lean in, to face it head on.
That was a really unconventional move. Bold, even. Trying to control the narrative when something like that happens. It showed a certain savviness about the media, maybe?
Definitely seemed that way. And right after that, later in 2007, Keeping Up with the Kardashians launched.
Simple premise, cameras following their lives.
But it just took off, became this massive cultural thing. Why do you think people watch so intensely? The source mentions entertainment, but also connection.
I think in those early seasons, there was this sense of relatable family stuff, arguments, parties, drama, just amplified, obviously.
Right, like a heightened version of everyday family life.
Exactly. It felt sort of accessible, even with all the glamour.
Yeah.
And Kim quickly became central, beautiful, fashionable, confident, She knew how to get attention.
And that visibility led straight into her first business ventures. Perfumes, clothes.
Dash boutique with her sisters. Yeah, those early steps.
They were probably crucial learning curves, right?
Yeah.
Testing the waters, seeing what connected with her new audience.
For sure. Turning that fame directly into products. But let's not forget the criticism.
Oh, yeah. The famous for being famous label. That followed her everywhere.
It really did. And the source points out she just persevered, kept going despite it.
That resilience seems key. Not letting that critique define her. Moving from just being around fame to actually building her own thing.
Yeah, that criticism kind of highlights how celebrity was changing. She wasn't famous for traditional things like acting or singing. And her response, build something undeniable. Turn that attention into fuel.
Okay, so that sets the stage. The launch into the spotlight, the first businesses, weathering that initial criticism. Now let's talk about how she really built the brand. This wasn't accidental, was it?
No, the source stresses it was strategic. Building something lasting takes more than just being famous. It needs a plan, a vision.
And her image was central to that. Her look, the dark hair, the curves, she really embraced it.
At a time when the mainstream ideal was often very different, very thin, she offered another kind of beauty standard.
Became a bit of a symbol for body confidence for some people, right?
I think so, yeah. Her confidence in her own body resonated. It felt authentic to many. And that authenticity became part of the brand's appeal. It broadened the conversation.
And she turned that image into business. We mentioned Dash, the perfumes, but then came the big ones. KKW Beauty in 2017.
Instant success, right. Stuff selling out constantly.
People wanted that look. The makeup promised a way to get it, and it made millions fast. What was the magic there?
Well, first, the huge built-in audience from the show and social media. Then the direct-to-consumer model, she could market straight to them.
Cutting out the middleman.
Exactly. Created urgency, buzz, and the products delivered on that specific promise, achieving the Kim K look. It was aspirational.
Then Skims in 2019, which the source says is more than underwear. Shapewear.
But shapewear done differently. The big thing was inclusivity.
Right. All the skin tones, the range of shapes and sizes, that felt new.
It really did. It addressed a huge market that felt ignored by traditional brands. Comfortable, effective, and for everyone. That combination was powerful.
And it just soared. Valued at over $3 billion by 2022, apparently. That's staggering.
It tapped into a real need, delivered a quality product, and had this message of body positivity woven in. Plus her marketing genius, of course.
So what were the strategies behind all this?
Yeah.
The source mentions getting smart people involved, studying the market.
And mastering social media, Instagram, Twitter. She was a pioneer there.
How vital was social media, really?
Oh, absolutely fundamental. She practically invented the direct-to-influencer to consumer pipeline. No need for traditional ads, just talk straight to millions of followers.
Every post a potential ad.
Pretty much. And she knew how to make it feel personal, right? Sharing her life, the marriages, the kids, the breakups.
That curated vulnerability, as you called it earlier, makes people feel like they know her.
Creates that parasocial bond. You feel invested, so you're more likely to buy the products. It's incredibly savvy brand building.
The source also notes the attention to detail. Packaging, marketing, making it feel luxurious.
It all adds up to this cohesive brand experience. It feels premium.
And dealing with negativity. The source suggests she just stayed calm, focused on work, let the results speak.
Which takes discipline. Not getting sucked into every online fight, just building the business. That show don't tell approach probably changed more minds in the long run.
And behind the scenes, good managers, smart deals, trademarks to protect the brand.
Diversifying too. Tech startups, mobile apps. Remember the Kim Kardashian Hollywood game?
Oh, yeah. That made a fortune, didn't it? Like over $100 million at one point.
Just she understood how to engage her audience on different platforms, not just physical products.
So yeah, the transformation was complete. Reality star to billionaire, entrepreneur, global influencer. But the story didn't stop there.
No, then came another pivot, a really unexpected one, towards purpose, beyond just business and fame.
Which brings us to section 3. Law, justice, motherhood. This shift definitely raised eyebrows.
For sure. It started publicly, I think, with that White House visit in 2018.
Right. Advocating for Alice Marie Johnson, a grandmother serving life for a nonviolent drug offense. Kim believed in second chances, the source says.
She met with lawyers, activists, even the president, and it worked. Alice was granted clemency, released after over 20 years.
That seemed to have a profound effect on Kim personally. What do you think drew her to that specific case?
It's hard to know for sure, but maybe the sheer injustice of it struck a chord. Or maybe hearing Alice's story sparked something, a realization she could use her platform differently.
It definitely seemed like a turning point, because after that, she decides to study law.
But not the usual way. She opted for a legal apprenticeship in California, working with lawyers, studying intensely for years before she can take the bar.
That's a serious commitment. Hours of reading dense legal text, writing essays. Not exactly glamorous. What are the upsides of that route?
It's very hands-on, practical. You're immersed in the actual work of law from day one. Good for experiential learners. But maybe less structured than law school? Fewer academic resources, perhaps.
It feels like a choice for someone wanting applied knowledge. And the reaction? Predictably mixed. Skepticism was high.
Oh, definitely. Lots of doubt. But she stuck with it.
And the source details her ongoing work in prison reform since then, helping free others, working with organizations, pushing for legal changes.
That sustained effort is important. It shows it wasn't just a one-off publicity thing. Working with established groups lends credibility to.
And layered on top of this is her role as a mother. 4 kids. The source suggests this influences her values, wanting to be a positive example.
Parenthood changes your perspective, doesn't it? A desire to make the world better for your kids can be a powerful motivator for tackling things like injustice.
It also mentions her father, Robert Kardashian, wanting to follow in his legal footsteps, perhaps, honoring his legacy.
That's a strong personal connection, a way to connect with that part of her family history, maybe finish something he started in her own way.
And the source is realistic about the challenges. Juggling motherhood, global businesses, intense legal studies, the stress, the setbacks.
It's a huge amount to balance, but then she passed the baby bar in 2021. That was a big milestone.
Explain the baby bar again. Why was that such a hurdle?
It's the first-year law students exam in California, required for apprentices and students at unaccredited schools. It's notoriously difficult. Passing it proves you've got the basics down and you're serious.
And she shared that struggle online, right? The failures before the success. Trying to inspire others about reinvention.
Which makes it relatable, showing it wasn't easy. And importantly, the source notes she didn't, give up her other interests. Still involved in fashion, beauty, business.
She stayed Kim Kardashian, just with an added dimension.
Exactly. And that determination, that new focus, seems to have earned her a growing level of respect, even from former critics. The perception has definitely shifted.
Which leads nicely into our final section: legacy, influence, and the power of reinvention. Her story really is one of transformation, isn't it?
Constantly evolving, defying those early judgments by, doing the work, showing she had the intellect and the business sense.
We've talked about KKW Beauty and Skims, huge successes that had a cultural impact beyond just being products.
For sure. And her influence just kept growing, that massive social media following.
which she started using more for advocacy, right? Criminal justice, mental health, women's rights. How effective is that? Using Instagram for serious issues.
It's tricky. It can raise awareness massively, reach millions instantly, but social media can also be superficial. If used thoughtfully, though, like she seems to be trying to do, it can definitely amplify important messages.
And she started moving into different spaces. Speeches at universities, news programs, international events.
Signaling broader ambitions, engaging with different kinds of conversations. It adds depth to her public image.
The source suggests she's become a symbol for some young women. Power, confidence, showing you can be interested in fashion and serious issues.
Breaking down those old assumptions that beauty and brains are somehow opposites. And her impact on fashion itself, popularizing styles, and really the whole influencer phenomena.
She was arguably the blueprint influencer. What's the legacy of that whole era?
Still playing out, I think. It's changed media, marketing, democratized influence in some ways, but also blurred lines between personal life and selling things, raised questions about authenticity, but undeniably created new paths for entrepreneurs.
And the source acknowledges the whole Kardashian-Jenner family as this huge business force. But it suggests Kim's biggest impact might actually be his inspiration.
Yeah, the example of reinvention, that you can change course, defy expectations, that resonates.
Her ability to learn from mistakes, to kind of control her own story, despite the intense spotlight, that's remarkable.
Shaping the narrative, yeah. And she's still going. The source mentions Skims partnering with sports leagues now, still studying law, focusing on social justice, maybe even her own law firm one day.
That's incredibly ambitious. It shows this legal path isn't just a phase.
Seems like a long-term commitment. Skims provides the financial engine, the law provides the purpose-driven impact, perhaps.
And finally, the source mentions her kids, her values, being open about challenges like divorce, mental health. That vulnerability makes her relatable, despite the extreme fame.
It rounds out the picture. It's not just about success, it's about navigating life's difficulties too. The story is one of growth, strength, self-determination, and it's still unfolding.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, what are the main takeaways from Kim Kardashian's story based on our source? First, her knack for controlling the narrative.
Definitely. She actively shaped how people saw her, rather than just letting it happen. Masterful use of media.
Second, that really smart approach to fame. Not just enjoying it, but using it meticulously to build businesses.
Serious entrepreneurial drive. She saw the opportunities and seized them, creating huge brands.
And third, maybe the biggest shift lately.
Yeah.
Finding purpose beyond that initial fame and fortune. The Alice Johnson case was such a clear turning point.
Showing how fame can be combined with advocacy for real impact, that pivot adds a whole new layer to her legacy.
Plus, her dedication to that demanding law apprenticeship, juggling everything else, and just navigating the constant public scrutiny, the good and the bad.
The resilience is incredible, sticking to a tough path despite the pressure and skepticism.
So she really stands as this, symbol of reinvention, having the guts to chase new goals, even when people doubt you.
And suggesting success isn't just about money or fame, but maybe also about impact, about lifting others up, a broader definition.
It's a fascinating journey, and as the source says, it's clearly not over yet, still evolving.
Absolutely. A reminder that growth is ongoing, life can take unexpected turns.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is, where's your own potential for reinvention? What unexpected directions could your life take? Kim Kardashian's story, whatever you think of her, shows you don't have to stay in just one box.